Thank you, Bella. Great to be here. Good to see you as well. Welcome back to another edition of the Soccer Specialist Podcast. And today we are going to talk about confidence. It's something I touch on a lot. Some of these things we're going to get into, I've talked about here and there on other podcasts. But what I've done is I just sort of cranked out 14 different things that you can do to help with your confidence levels. Some are almost instant, some take time and a little bit of practice to work on and improve on them as well. I don't know if this is going to be one episode, two episodes, three episodes. You know how I can get going with talking, but I'm just going to sort of go through them and see how far we get in this episode, and we'll save the rest for another. And the first one that I want to talk about, because I think this is absolutely 100% number one on the confidence building list, and that is preparation. And I know that probably sounds strange to a lot of people that, practicing your sport, preparing for your sport is what builds confidence, but it absolutely, absolutely does. The easiest example I think I can give for some people is when we talk about schoolwork. Let's talk about a test, and we'll give two scenarios. One, you pay attention in class, you interact, you ask questions, you do all the homework when you're supposed to do it, you study for the test all along. So basically, the night before is just a review. You do all those things, you're going to go into the test as confident as you can possibly be about how you're going to do. And the flip side of that is you don't pay attention in class at all. You don't interact or ask questions. You don't do any of the homework. You don't study for the test at all. What's your confidence level going to be like when you're going into the classroom to take that test? You're not going to have any. You're not going to have any at all. It's the same thing for your soccer. You're doing what you need to do in practices, which is actually paying attention to the coach when they're instructing, doing the drills to the best of your ability, being mentally focused on what you're doing and your technique, and the little things like if you've been instructed about the placement of your foot when you're striking the ball, that it's a little too far behind, and you really start focused on making sure it's where it needs to be, and you do all those things, you are absolutely going to develop more confidence. You're going to be more confident in your ability because going into games, you've done everything you can do to be the best player you can be on the pitch that day. Okay. So that is absolutely number one. You must prepare. You must put in the time and effort. And I know words like that, they sound like, oh, I don't want to do that because that's what you hear when you're talking about schoolwork or, when you get old enough and you get a job and it just sounds so, but you got to put, if it's something that you really love to play the game, let me tell you, you're going to get a lot more enjoyment out of it the better that you are. And the better you're going to be, the more preparation that you do, getting your ball skills. Check out impactsoccerperformance.com/system. I had to throw that in there because it's really, really, really important. If you've been listening for any length of time, you know how I feel about mastering the ball. Okay, that is absolutely number one, preparation. Preparation is a huge, 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 huge confidence builder. All right, number two. Now, these aren't necessarily in any particular order going forward, but I do believe preparation is absolutely number one, and everything else kind of builds on preparation. And number two is strength training. Okay. The work you do in the gym or outside is so crucial to your performance. And the reason I say strength training, I know this sounds a little bit, well, how's that about confidence? It's definitely about performance. Well, one, when you perform better, you're going to be more confident, right? It builds on itself. You're confident in your performance, you perform better because you're playing with confidence, you perform well, your confidence grows, etc. But the reason I say strength training, and I talk about this from experience and talking about this with other players, when you go into a strength training program, when you start working on strength training, like impactsoccerperformance.com, again, I'm sorry, but I had to throw that in there. I really, really believe in the program. I think it make a huge difference in your performance levels and your confidence. But anyway, if you start training your athleticism for your sport, you start getting into the gym, it has an amazing effect on your confidence because it goes hand in hand with preparation. Obviously, this is a specific type of preparation. When you're getting into the gym and you're putting in the work, and anyone who's trained, this is going to be obviously more for the older kids in terms of the type of training I'm describing. When you're younger, you're starting out with body weight stuff. You may not be as intense, but anybody who's listened to high school age who's really gotten into the gym and done squats or deadlifts and things like that, when you're grinding out those final reps of your final set, and like for a deadlift, for example, you got your hands on the bar. They're starting to get raw because you didn't wear weightlifting gloves. It's slowly coming out of your grip to you're just kind of holding it almost with your fingers as you're pulling up as hard as you can. You're huffing and puffing like a freight train because of the number of reps you've done. Everything screaming, your back is screaming in pain. And this is a good pain for those who haven't done it, right? Not talking about injuries, obviously. And you get that weight an inch or two off the floor and you are stuck. You're pulling as hard as you can possibly pull, but it's just not budging. And you're grinding. 4 or 5, 6 seconds pass. It slowly starts moving a little again. You start building a little momentum. You finally get up to that top and you lock out that top of that deadlift. And then don't drop the bar in a gym, you get kicked out. But you want to drop the bar, right? Because and your hands, you can barely unclench them, okay? But that feeling of success in that physical grind of what you can do in the weight room, it has such a huge positive effect on you out on the pitch. You go out there and you just feel you're stronger than your opponent because it's also building your mental toughness. Anyone who's done deadlifts like that, anyone who's done a serious squat program knows exactly what I'm talking about. It builds a kind of mental toughness, mental strength as well as physical strength. And you go out there and, combining with that with conditioning, if you do something like Dominate Game Day, you just feel like physically, mentally, your opponent cannot overcome you. Nothing is going to set you back. You're mentally tough. You're physically tough. You're strong. And it's just a huge confidence builder. Okay. Next one, the 5-minute confidence building exercise. If you don't know this, you haven't done it, or even if you have, do it again. This is something you should be doing on a regular basis as a player. Go back to the March 4th, 2020 episode of the Soccer Specialist podcast. Okay. And that's where you find all the details of this. But basically, what you're doing is you take 5 minutes, get a pen, paper, pencil, paper, whatever, and notebooks. Take 5 minutes and write down all your accomplishments in soccer. And don't edit yourself in your head. Don't block yourself. I mean everything from the first time you kicked the ball. Doesn't matter where it went, just the first time you kicked the ball, the first time you kicked the ball with your opposite foot, the first time you juggled. You may have only gotten one, but it's the first time you juggled, right? All of it. Just crank it out right for 5 minutes nonstop. You will be amazed at the list that you build, and that is going to give you a lot of confidence because it's going to be a reminder. You don't understand these things as the years and time goes by, but you've made a huge amount of progress, even if you're only 10 or 11 years old. You've made a huge amount of progress. I used to talk about that. This was my players when they were 10, 11, 12. I said, hey, remember back when you were 6, you'd have to put the ball practically on the goal line, run up 10 yards and swing as hard as you can. And maybe you hit the ball hard enough to roll over the goal line. And think of what you're doing now, right? So you need that reminder. And that's a huge confidence builder when you see on paper all these things you've accomplished during your time playing. Okay. Number 4, support your teammates. Make yourself confident by making them confident. Okay. And this is in practices as well. Get vocal. Somebody makes a good pass, say good pass. Someone makes a great attempt, but it doesn't connect. That's fine. Say good idea. Nice try. Well done. Hey, you get them next time. Hey, get your head up. We all make mistakes. We'll get them next time. Give them high fives. When they mess up and you can tell it's really bothering them in a game, maybe they missed a shot that they know they should have made or whatever it is, go over and just have a quiet word and say, hey, don't worry about it. We'll get them next time. You got this. No problem. You do that and you start making that a habit of constantly lifting up your teammates, constantly building their confidence. You are going to build your confidence. 100%. That's an easy one. Number 5, be positive. This goes hand in hand with 4 because it's sort of the same thing, but you want to add that to everything that's happening, not just individually with your teammates on that, but be positive about everything on the pitch. Don't let negativity, it's going to creep into your head, but don't let it out. Correct it when it happens, right? You're going to get a really bad call by a ref and you're going to have a negative thought. Even if you're one that doesn't argue, it's just you're going to have a negative thought. Oh, okay, that's fine. That's going to happen. But then correct it with something positive. What can you do to overcome what happened? You can't do anything to change it. So, right, be positive. You miss a shot, keep your head up. Tell yourself you're going to get it next time. Be positive about everything you do. If you're out there juggling, be positive about your numbers. Hey, this is better than last time. Maybe I didn't get to 50 today, but I know I've improved by being out there. Whatever it is, always focus on being positive. Number 6, understand this. you are unique, and so is your development path and your skill set and the time that it takes you to accomplish what you want to accomplish. Everybody is different. You are unique. Your path is your path. Compete. Don't compare yourself to other players, except, and I make an exception that for motivational purposes. If you see someone you want to play like, don't get frustrated and upset because you don't. Use that as a you want to use that as a model to challenge yourself to be um, to go after your goals harder because that helps you. That is perfectly fine. That's the kind of a different issue. But other than that, compete with yourself. Compare yourself to what you used to do, what you do now. You know what? I'm actually going to leave it there at number 6. We're going to get through more in the next episode. Hopefully, I really hope this helps you out. Once again, I thank everybody so much for listening. We're building an audience. Slowly but surely, we are building an audience. So thank you so much for those that listen all the time, that mention it to other parents or players and that their kids' team or what have you. I really appreciate the players listening because that is amazing that young players actually take the time to listen to this themselves and not just have their parents do it and then their parents converse. I think both are great, but it amazes me, especially in this day and age of attention span and social media and everything, that 9, 10, 11, 12, 15-year-old kids are actually listening to this to help them with their soccer. That's fantastic. If you haven't done so, check out impactsoccerperformance.com. There's the athletic performance program, speed, agility, strength, all that great stuff. Impactsoccerperformance.com/system is all about mastering the ball. Okay, great program. Each month you get a 30-day program. This is the session you do this day. This is the session you do that day. It's all spelled out. Sorry, I didn't prepare this really cool like salesy pitch that's going to get you to be all excited and go to the pages. But if you haven't checked them out, please do so. I really appreciate it. Thanks again so much for listening, and we will talk to you later.